on a good day, you've met at 12:30, you've done all the run. Like, are you often just doing one run, or would you double dip?
I mean, if I'm training for races, I try to do a couple doubles in a week.
Yeah,
But there's definitely people that do doubles all the time. Me personally, it's just time. I've got two young
yeah,
kids and my wife and stuff, and the whole thing takes a number of hours to complete,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
We'll
so I
go
don't
into
do
that in
that
a moment.
much. Yeah, I don't do that much, but you can definitely go again. If there's been wind and it felt like a good run, it's probably going to keep going as long as you're
Yeah.
up there by like 3 o'clock.
Okay, and do you track your runs like on with water speed or
Yeah,
yeah, got the ultra
I use
there?
water speed on my Apple Watch.
Yeah, cool. And what's generally like the distance that you're doing from paddling up to boat ramp at the harbour? What's an
It's like just over 10 miles. Like 10,
okay,
yeah, usually yesterday I think it was 10.4 and I started on the inside and went all the way to the boat ramp. If I'm starting all the way at the outside and then sometimes I stop my watch at the outside, that's more like
yeah,
9.8, but
okay,
if you're recording the whole thing, yeah, just over 10.
okay, that's good to know. And what kind of splits are you typically doing? Let's say it's a reasonably good day, like not an all time, but not crappy, like a just a you know a good day on Maliko. What are your splits like?
I usually shoot for 17 miles an hour average.
Okay.
So I don't know what that is in kilometers, but so if I'm doing 17 miles an hour average, it's 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I think, per mile.
Yeah.
And so I don't know
Okay.
exactly, but if I can do 17 for average for the whole way, that's great. On some of the miles, like usually like mile 7 and 8 are usually my fastest miles. I'll go down like 3 minutes, 20 seconds, something like that, maybe average 18 and a half miles an hour. And then at the ends, depending on what is going on, sometimes the top is crazy fast too.
Okay.
But in general, they're slower in the beginning and the end, and then it gets faster right there across the reef in the middle.
Okay. Cool. All right. And so then a total run, like the amount of time, elapsed time then. So from, let's say, from getting in the water. Oh no, let's
Yeah.
go from paddling up. So from paddling up to ending at the boat ramp. How much time does that take generally?
For me, it's like 35 to 38 minutes to get to the boat ramp. I did, yesterday took me 35 minutes from
Yeah.
where I popped up to the boat ramp, but I took the 130 on a slower day a week ago and it took me 42 minutes. So,
Yeah.
it can definitely vary in there, but usually I'm trying to do it, if I'm trying to think about racing, I'm trying to do it in like 35. I think my best
Yep.
is a 31 something.
Okay.
And when I was starting, I was doing 55. So it really
Yeah.
depends.
So
Um,
someone that's more intermediate might be looking more like 40 to 45 for a
yeah,
comfortable
yeah,
time. And
for
then what
sure.
about,
And it takes
10,
about
Dave?
15. I'd say it takes like 15 minutes if you're gonna paddle all the way to the outside.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so for like the race, when we just had this weekend of racing, I said, okay, the race is going to start in 20 minutes from now. Everyone set their watches, and that gave us all time to like get in the water, paddle all the way to the outside,
Yeah.
sit there for a little while,
Take a
wait,
break.
and then start. Yeah. Kane and Andrew, I follow on Strava, and so I see their times all the time, and those guys are hitting like 19-mile-an-hour averages
Okay.
on the regular,
Yeah.
which is just crazy. That's so
So
fast.
probably consistently closer to the 25-minute mark or certainly under 30, under
Yeah, like
30.
28 minutes, something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
those
All right.
guys are insane.
Cool. So you're riding lift, 130 on the questionable days and 110 when it's good, or
Yeah, I
as you
I
need
uh,
to.
I usually run the 20 carve tail, which
Yeah.
in the short position, which is an amazing tail. I ride that tail foiling, towing big waves and doing downwinds. It's
Okay.
kind of like
You just
the
keep it on.
only
Yep.
the only thing, yeah. And then this weekend I tried a proto mast that's coming out. That's a much higher grade of carbon. Unfortunately, it was 30 inches long. I prefer a 28-inch mast.
Yeah.
But I think they're coming out with a 28, and it's really stiff, and it felt really, really slippery. And I normally run the M2, which is, high modulus carbon, but this one was even better.
The stiffness is like, it can't be overstated. Like I had a no limits for a while, but then even riding, so I ride Axis, but even riding like their high modulus, which is an excellent carbon mast,
Yeah.
to going to their Ultra High Modulus Pro, and I was finding so I ride 75 centimeters for everything, for prone and downwind. I say everything, that's all I do. I don't wing, or I only do 2 disciplines. But on the 75 centimeter no limits, the Ultra High Modulus Pro Axis mast is a 72. It is actually 3 centimeters, an inch and a bit shorter, and I have a lot less touchdowns or breaches with the 72 ultra high modulus, because I'm so much more confident on. It's so much more dependable through turns. Yeah, I think it's confidence. I feel more stable riding higher on it, so I don't touch down. Like I would have thought, maybe that shorter. It's because it's pretty short mast, like 72, a true 72. It's
Yeah.
that stiffness is what the difference is. It's just complete control, like just so much more control. So
Yeah. And Dave Kalama, he runs like a 24-inch GoFoil mast, and it's so short. And it's wild. And if you watch him, and I've talked to him about it, and he's like, well, yeah, but only this much goes in the water anyway. Like, what does it matter? Why does it have to be longer? I'm like, well, some of us have trouble figuring that out. But it's super stiff, and he, is older than me, and he can beat me anytime he wants to, and it's because he's just got that foil in the right spot. He's turning a lot. He's confident of that mast strength and where to be on the section, and it's incredibly
it's
stiff
mastery.
setup.
Yeah,
A stiff setup is very important.
Yeah, I think for someone like Dave, it's mastery of a discipline. Like it's knowing he would have a feel of his height that is like tenfold mine. Like I'm happy to accept that he would.
Yeah.
And I see that with Perth too. Like in our local group, he just rides a 72, no matter how big the ocean is, and we get just, when the ocean is big here and we've got chop coming from everywhere, like the ocean just drops out on you, like
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think, we need that extra length for that extra play. But for Perth and more so for guys like Dave Kalama, I think he just has that mastered. So.
Well, because we're trying to reduce wetted area by going in smaller foils, but if you're dragging half of your mast along, like, what are you doing, right? So,
Yeah. So from meeting at the harbour, let's say you're jumping in the cars at 12:30. It takes you 35 minutes to get to the Gulch.
Yeah.
Another 10 minutes of faffing about and chatting and getting your gear together. Then a 55-minute water time from, getting in the water, trying not to fall over on the slippy boat ramp and smash your foil up. Get out, do the run. And then another 10 minutes of breakdown, hosing off, chat. Or is that 15 minutes?
Yeah.
15 minutes. And then we've got to drive back and pick up the other car, so that's another 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll work all that out, and at the end we'll put the ratio up.
Okay, all right, I like it.
It's bad here. Like seriously, our ratio is like 5.7, I think it was, to 1.
Oh, so, and then you have Hood River as the absolute best of, because they have an 80 mile an hour freeway right next to the run, so you're literally you can be it's 5 minutes of driving for a 10-mile run.
Yeah. Tell me about safety. What are you guys doing? What are you wearing? I know you have an EPIRB because you've set it off.
Yeah.
But what are you doing, and what are most people doing, and what do you recommend?
Yeah. So I'm really glad we're going to talk about safety. I think that's something that Maui has been really good at. You know, our run is, we can be miles offshore, and we already talked, there's all sorts of critters in there, and so it's a serious situation paddling in. I've rescued people that are several miles offshore that, you know, their windsurf disconnected and they lost their board, or they hoolied in their canoe and they didn't have a leash on. And it is a serious ordeal trying to get in multiple miles, even if somebody rescues you with a board, let alone if you're swimming, right? And so it's super sketchy. So leash, 100%. Like, I know a lot of guys on Oahu don't run a leash, but there's no way you should be doing that in Maui. I don't think you should be doing that anywhere.
I think it's one of those things that, like, zero impact on performance, like more than zero risk. So, like,
yeah, exactly. And
Yep.
you know, this last weekend, a very talented kid from Oahu, which I won't call out, but he showed up at the race and was riding with me and Andrea on the way up. And Andrea is really good at this. She'll go through the checklist with you, and if you don't have the leash, she's like, "No, you're not going." And so, so he didn't have a leash, and so we grabbed him one out of the back and gave it to him. Wouldn't let him do the run without it. So yeah, leash. We all in our core group that goes. We all have phones. We all bring our phone, and we all try to have a watch. An Apple Watch. I don't think Dave's got like a Timex. He doesn't have an Apple Watch, but he brings his phone with him in a waterproof case. I also think a tourniquet is something that everyone should bring in their kit. So I wear a life jacket. I wear that by Kobe life jacket, but like Andrea will wear a Dakine like fanny pack. So you know, it doesn't have flotation in it. She's comfortable with that. I like to have the flotation. But in that kit, I think you should also have a tourniquet. And the tourniquet, make sure you know how to use it too, because the tourniquet, like if you've never tried it, it can be kind of weird how to twist it and all that kind of stuff. So maybe practice a little bit and try, because, you know, really cutting yourself badly or finding someone bad, you could also use your leash to create a tourniquet, but a real tourniquet is better, and it weighs nothing. So I just have it in the bottom of the water bag. The EPIRB, I don't carry the EPIRB with me all the time. I have a new one right here that I haven't turned on yet. The Garmin.
Yep.
I got the Garmin InReach Mini, and the reason why I got it was I don't carry the EPIRB with me all the time, but I do if I'm doing a channel crossing, and I do if it's like a really big day. So in the winter, this was the thing Tomoko was talking about. Like, it was blowing 40 miles an hour, and there were 10-foot Hawaiian, so it's 20-foot waves, and it's blowing 40 miles an hour. It's like a double black diamond day. So I brought the EPIRB with me, but I laid down on I keep my EPIRB up here, and I laid down on my board paddling on a Maliko, and the one that I had was not this one. It has the button on the front. It's that yellow one. Yeah, it has the button on the front. And I set it off. Had no idea. Paddled out to Maliko, and you just went through the math of how long it takes to do it. My wife was called by the Coast Guard that I was missing at sea at the beginning of that run, and she did not hear back from me until the end of the run. Yeah.
Wow.
And in the meantime, it's Maui, so like the Coast Guard got called. I knew people there. The lifeguards that got called, I knew people there. The helicopter pilot is a friend of mine. Like, so everyone just didn't wait for the call. They just went. So like,
Shep's in trouble.
Yeah. So fire, lifeguard, they launched the ski, they fly the helicopter. It was a whole ordeal. I had to go buy a lot of apology donuts to go take to people and say thank you. And not to mention my wife, who was not happy about it. But that being said, yeah,
tough hour for her.
yeah, no joke. But that being said, it was a fantastic test that the EPIRB really works, and all the first responders all said, "No worries, like you were doing the right thing. like, thank you for doing that. The people that they said the people we get upset with are the ones that have no plan, that don't do anything, and they get themselves in a bad spot. We've got to go rescue them. Like, you had all these things done, and then there was a malfunction. That's different. And so I still bring the EPIRB when it's a big day.
Can I challenge you on that? I keep it in my vest on a rope, and the thing I fear is that something's going to happen on a mediocre, like on a nothing day, to me or somebody else, and I'm not going to have it. So I carry it, and if we go bushwalk, okay, I've got this device. I've spent $400 on it. When we go to, we went to the Red Centre last year. I took it with me. It's like, I'd hate to be out there and know I've got an EPIRB. I know I've got this resource. And Elsie gets bitten by a snake or something. I carry it in Botany Bay. I just keep it in my vest because even on the days I'm not worried, even if I'm not worried for myself ignorantly, what if my friend falls awkwardly on a skinny tail and stabs himself? There's things that are out of my control, and I just don't want to be on that day and not have that resource. So for the thing is tiny.
It's a really good point, and I actually did carry it with me almost all the time. And then when I accidentally set it off, it made me a little bit. It's one thing if you're the guy that does it once, right? But if you're the guy that does it twice, it's like, what are you doing? That's why I did get this separate one, and but I hear you. But I always have a phone, right? And so, and the phone, the Maliko has great cell signal the whole way down. And so in that situation, I think I could activate all those things pretty quickly with just the phone as well.
Okay. Mate, let's call it a challenge for people. Specifically for you, you've got your, your run, your ability to make an urgent call. You know what resources are there. I leave that in your hands. It's not for me to tell you. So let's call that challenge a general challenge for people. Yeah.
But hands down, it's a fantastic tool. And as long as I get comfortable with this one, it's even smaller, lighter, and more expensive. And so I'm sure I will. Hopefully I feel confident and to start to take it all the time. And then water and electrolytes are totally a no-brainer as well.
You take fluid with you every run?
Pretty much, yeah. Even though it's only 30 minutes, I just like to do it because of the electrolytes. And if I'm racing and I want to be light for a Maliko run, I won't. But if it's just a casual day, why not?
And I think particularly when you're preparing for a channel crossing race, you want to carry the weight and even train with more weight. And you don't want to be turning up to a race and carrying an extra 2 kilos that you haven't been familiar with,
because you stand up on that skinny race board with more weight up top than you're used to, and you're gonna fall.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you about difficulty then. You've downwinded in some other places. Where else have you downwinded?
Well, I've downwinded quite a bit in Hood River, which is just pure fun, super fun. Let's see. I've done one in Los Angeles. Done Maui to Molokai. I've done Maui to Lanai. I've done the biggest water I've ever been in my life was on Kaupo, the Kaupo run, which is on the back side of Maui. So like the south side of the island. There's a channel between Maui and the big island called the Aliniuihaha, and that is enormous water. It was me and Dave, Kalama, Andrea, Moeller, Craig, came, and me, I think. And I have a funny story about that. So we're going up in the boat. We left at like 6 a.m., like in the dark. You come around the corner at 6:30, and it's just enormous swells immediately. 6 in the morning, still dark. You're just like, whoa, we're pounding all the way upwind. Took us like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get 15 miles upwind. And we're in a 30-foot force, which is like a boat made for Hawaiian waters, and it was super rough. Dave has this Batman utility belt that he carries with him with all kinds of things on it, and he had his slippers on the utility belt, and I was like, well, we're getting off the boat, we're getting onto the boat, what are you doing with the slippers? And he's like, well, if the boat sinks, we have to walk through all that lava. And I was like, what am I doing here? Is the boat gonna sink? Like, it's just like that was like a legit thing where Dave's like prepared for everything. He always, and he was just like, yeah, the boat might sink. It was huge. It was, and I was afraid to say how big it was because I was with Dave and Andrea, so I'm like, I'm not gonna say how big I think this is. And then afterwards, we all sort of consulted, and it was like legit. There were some triple overhead bombs, and this was in probably 2020. So okay. I was on a 510 board with a 210 centimeter signature albatross, and so the stuff was so poorly.
You wouldn't have.
It was so big.
Just ducking, right? Yeah, there's no way you could keep up with it.
Every single one. I tried to drop in twice, and the second I started going down, they just cavitated and exploded. So I just safety surfed the whole way. But that was. I'd like to do that run again with new gear and see how it goes. That's a all day long double black. Nobody should attempt.
Yep.
So yeah, Maui to Molokai, Molokai to Oahu. I've done the AD's run on Oahu, which is where they start further out from Hawaii Kai. And that's great. That water's great training. Super rough. Very, very rough.
That looks cool. So on a decent day on Maliko, 5 being the most difficult, let's say, the run you described with Dave and his slippers, that's a 5, right?
Yeah.
And Hood River, cruisy, easy day is probably a 1. I mean, we've got to have a scale, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be a 1.
Okay, that's the scale, all right.
Where do you put Maliko on a reasonably good day?
Oh, I think it's probably in the middle. It's probably a 3 on that scale. The swells are generally moving the same direction, either in or out. There's really mainly 2 swell directions, and so you can figure that out. The only thing is you're far from shore. It's a long swim. It's not like Hawaii Kai where you're kind of going around Kaiko's run, where you're running right along the shore the whole time. You're a ways out. So that's the only thing. But besides that, a 3. It's right there in the middle, I'd say.
3 kind of makes sense. It's not a place where you do your second or third run. Like it's not a, like there might be sections of it that you do and come in, but it's not a place you can expect to go and learn, right?
Yeah, and there are, when people are starting, they'll do segments of it. So like some people will start at like Ho'okipa and finish at Sugar Cove. There's like a little windsurfing kind of community beach right there. That's not the best part of the run as far as I'm concerned, but it's only like probably 3.5 miles, and so that's like a good starter run for a lot of people.
I'm so thrilled we got to do this.
Thank you to the people that have shared all their knowledge with me over the years, especially probably Dave, Andrea, Jeremy, Kai Bartlett on the canoe side, Mark Rapphorst on the stand-up side. Those guys, that group has taught me everything about Maliko. And if you come to Maui, Maui's an awesome, welcoming place. Just always lead with humility and come prepared to help, and you're going to be received really well.
Certainly that was our experience. We had a wonderful time. We got a great welcome from Tomoko. When I first met her, and we'd been messaging, and she was kind of aware of the hand paddle thing. When I first connected with her, she had this like gift box for Elsie and Chris and things that she'd made.
Amazing.
It was just like, it was so sweet. And then, we had such a great welcome, and I was really conscious of trying to give more than we took from Maui. And Shep, I wanted to speak to you because what my awareness is that you're really highly respected. Everybody loves you in this community, and I know there were probably some more like obvious names that people are more familiar with, but I wanted people to get to know Shep a bit more, and I really felt that the people in your community that you foil with would have loved to see you get to share this information as well. So I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. I felt the love this last weekend when we had the little race and 55 people showed up. I was like, whoa. I actually felt kind of like it was like, you know, when you're in high school and your parents are out of town, you have a house party and you think like 10 people are coming and 100 show up. That was what it was like. I was like, oh my god, 55 people in Maliko. But it was epic, and the foil community in Maui is the best. I feel so honored to be able to be a part of it.
Well, I think you represent it really well, and so
That's great.
on that note, thank you again, and I hope this is enjoyable for people. I hope that people that are coming to Maui come with aloha, and they come planning to give more than they take.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Aloha.
All right. See you, man.